Urbana City Council, regular meeting tonight, Tuesday, April 19th at 6 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mr. Pena.
Here.
Mr. Thackeray.
Here.
Mr. Piper.
Here.
Mr. Paul. Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Field.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Looks like the first thing on our agenda tonight, our mayor has a proclamation. Proclaim away.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. This is a proclamation for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees to encourage the need to replenish this natural resource. And whereas in 1907, President Theodore Roosevelt penned an Arbor Day letter to the school children of the United States, in which he emphasized the necessity of careful use and the endurance of the country's natural resources. And whereas from this historic letter, I quote the following: Arbor Day, which means simply Tree Day, is now observed in every state in our union, and mainly in the schools, at various times from January to December, but chiefly in the month of April. You give a day or part of a day to special exercises and perhaps to actual tree planting, in recognition of the importance of trees to us as a nation and of what they yield in endowment, comfort, and useful products to the communities in which you live. It is well that you should celebrate your Arbor Day thoughtfully, for within your lifetime, the nation's need of trees will become serious. We, of an older generation, can get along with what we have, though with growing hardship, but in your full manhood and womanhood, you will want what nature once so bountifully supplied and man so thoughtlessly destroyed. And because of that want, you will reproach us, not for what we have used, but for what we have wasted. When you help to preserve our forests or plant new ones, you are acting the part of good citizens. The value of forestry deserves, therefore, to be taught in the schools, which aim to make good citizens of you, unquoted. And whereas the city of Urbana takes great pride in once again being recognized as a Tree City USA by the nation's Arbor Day Foundation, and now therefore, I, Bill Bean, Mayor of the City of Urbana, Ohio, do hereby proclaim our city's recognition of Arbor Day on Friday, April 29th, 2016, and urge all citizens to support the many efforts we have in place to protect our trees and woodlands. Doug gave me a few pointers here. In 2015, we spent approximately $2.06 per capita for trees, planting of trees, tree removal, and leaf collection. That expenditure comes to about $24,303.24. We planted 30 bare roots in the streets, streetscapes, and the Oakdale Cemetery. Removed 10 hazardous trees on our streetscape, planted 26 replacement trees within the project areas for the Phase 1 water project. we introduced Memorial Tree Program, received a total of 8 requests, and planted 8 trees last fall. Donors came from as far away as Cincinnati and Florida. This Thursday, Doug and I are heading over to Westerville to attend the Tree City USA luncheon and awards luncheon, and hopefully we'll bring back another flag and put us on the map again for a Tree City USA. So that's all I have, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Mayor. The tree program started a long time ago with Mayor Moore. Fell off for a while, and we picked it back up probably 15 years ago, and we've done a lot of work with the trees, and it's good to be a tree city.
Right.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have a gentleman, Mr. Webb. Jeff Webb from the Health District would like to speak on a potential problem.
By now, probably most of you have heard about Zika, and some of it may be accurate and some may not. But what I'm here to tell you today is kind of give you a clearer picture of the circumstances here in Ohio, and then also what we're doing locally. And currently we have about 10 cases, confirmed cases in Ohio of Zika. None of them were acquired here in Ohio. All of our cases have actually been acquired out of the country. So currently we're not seeing any. Of course, maybe as summer comes, that might change. But currently we have no confirmed cases outside, or actually inside Ohio, that were originated here. We've also, majority of the cases have been male. We've had no pregnant females that have actually acquired Zika, and that's really where the risk lies, because you may have Zika and not even know it, because it's much like other, like the flu. You end up with fever, rash, joint pain, and so you may have it and not even know it. But the risk for females is that if the baby acquires it in the womb, it can get a disease called microencephaly, and that's actually a shrinking of the baby's head, and that can, create issues, mental health, mental disability issues as they get older. But we're not seeing any of that in Ohio. We've actually seen across the country 358 cases, and of those, about 31 were pregnant females that have acquired it. It also can be transmitted by sexual contact. Currently in the country, we've had 7 cases of it transmitted that way. No cases again in Ohio as far as sexual transmission. Really, what we've done here in the county, the health district has put information on our website. We put it on our Facebook page. We've also gone out and visited our tire places. We've visited at least 4 tire places in the county. And of course, tires are a major contributor, as we know, to mosquito breeding sites. There's also a couple abandoned pools, swimming pools in the county that we're working with getting those. One of them, actually I think in Urbana or close to Urbana, we'll be working with the owner of that property to hopefully take care of that issue. And then there was one, I think, up in North Lewisburg. Those are some of the things that we've been doing. We've been meeting with the city of Urbana. We've had a couple meetings. Next month on May 3rd, we'll be meeting with, hopefully with Mechanicsburg and North Lewisburg They'll be at our meeting. Kip from EMA's been there at our meeting. In fact, they've put information on their website regarding Zika. I guess, I don't want to alarm people, and I think what you see on national TV, they tend to sensationalize a little bit of it, and I'm just here to tell you that we're dealing with it, and as far as in Champaign County, we do not have any cases of Zika in our county. And Clark County, they are currently actually trapping for the mosquito that carries Zika, and if they find it, we can assume then that it's here in Champaign County. But we felt that our monies could be better spent, probably more on education and that kind of thing, because if Clark's trapping them and they find them, then we know that they're here in Champaign County. So that's all I have to really tell you tonight. I don't know if there's any questions. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you have on Zika.
Mr.
Yes,
Fields?
Matt.
Time out. Mr. Fields?
I'd just like to thank you guys for being proactive and getting the information out to people.
All right.
Mr. Hoffman?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Scott?
None.
Mr. Thacker?
Yeah, I had a question. In the pregnancy thing, is there a time in pregnancy where it's more vulnerable than other times, like first trimester or the end, or the whole spectrum?
I was on the CDC website, and it looked like across the spectrum.
Okay.
And one of the things that they said was that if a pregnant female starts exhibiting some of these symptoms, and they've been out of the country, like they visited the Caribbean or Central America within 2 weeks of acquiring an illness, then they should see their doctor and see if they have Zika or not.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for staying on top of it.
Pena?
Yeah, I've seen it on TV a lot. How contagious is it to people that didn't get bit by the mosquito? Now, I heard that it's highly contagious, and I heard it's not that contagious. Where are we at on that?
Yeah, it's not really that contagious. They say that a person can carry it in their blood for about a week. And so one of the things that the CDC actually recommends that if you were diagnosed as having Zika, then you should, for that week, you shouldn't really be outside. And the reason is because if you get bit by a mosquito and you carry the virus, then that mosquito carries it and then transmits it to somebody else. So what they recommend is, for that week, if you had Zika, then you just stay indoors. And then again, it can be sexually transmitted. I don't know exactly, at least from what I've gleaned from the CDC, that there is a period of time that somebody actually carries it for a certain period of time. I've heard actually up to 6 months, but I couldn't confirm that on their website. So,
All right, thank you.
No questions, but thank you for staying on top of it.
You're welcome. And if you have any more questions, you can call us or you can go on our website. The CDC has a great website on Zika. And you can go on our website and click on the link and it'll take you right to their website. So.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes from the Urbana City Council regular session of April 5th, 2016. Council, to speak to that, we need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or additions to that set of minutes? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the regular session minutes from April 5th, 2016, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Communications, Madam Clerk, just the two.
Number 1, Board of Zoning Appeals meeting minutes of March 14th, 2016, emailed April 13th, 2016. Letter from City of Urbana to Urbana School District regarding available utilities in the South US 68 area. See attached.
Okay, council, we can take these both at once and speak to them, if you'd like.
I'll make a motion that we accept both communications together.
Second.
Okay, questions on the first one? I know the BZA is boring meetings. Second one, any questions or comments? Okay, just for those, do you want to, should we say what was in the second, just for clarification purposes?
The letter that Doug put together, has been word on the street that the school may be considering purchasing some land south of Urbana Corporation limits. And what we want to do is just be proactive in letting them know what utility the city currently has running down South 68, so that the school board and administration understands, you know, what we have in that area. So if they are in fact considering that area as a possible site for purchase and future expansion, that they understand what utility we have out there and how things tie back with tapping into utilities and the annexation process and the requirements in our ordinances. So it's really just a proactive measure on our part to advise the school what we have out there, what's available, so we don't want anybody to assume something. We'd rather let them know what we have. They can then perform the due diligence they need to identify, anything they need to tap into or future expansion.
Okay, thank you, Kerry. There's no questions. All those in favor of accepting the two communications, one from BZA and the other for a city to the schools, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Move into administrative reports from the Board of Control.
Number one, the Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to Blogrand, Herbert, Kessler, Miller in the amount of $15,000 for general labor and employment law support. This purchase will be charged to the general fund, non-departmental, and is in the 2016 budget. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, speak to this. We need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Just follow up. Every year, we always have money budgeted for professional services. Legal is one of them. We always open, I should say always, typically we'll open a purchase order with any particular agency to take care of the routine things that come up throughout the year. If we have any significant, or special events that happen, obviously we'll have to, we don't want to tap into that blanket for something that's more isolated. So this is just an isolated PO to give us room to make sure we can cover our legal expenses for the case we have currently in process.
Mr. Hoffman, questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Scott?
None, thank you.
Mr. Thacker?
No questions.
Mr. Pena?
No, thank you.
Mr. Pike?
No question, thank you.
Mr. Fields?
Nothing.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation to authorize a purchase order to Blogren, Herbert, Kessler, and Miller in the amount of $15,000, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously, thank you. The next one, Madam Clerk.
The Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to White's Service Center Incorporated in the amount of $30,179 for a 2016 Dodge Charger for the Police Division. White Service Center Incorporated was selected through a request for quote process. See attached tabulation. This expense will be charged to capital improvements, police and fire tax levy, and is in the 2016 budget. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, to speak to this, we need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Hopefully the attachment is in the packet was self-explanatory. Again, the police department had a cruiser in their budget for this year. One of the things that they've been talking about is looking at the possibility of going to like an interceptor model, which is more of an SUV type for hauling a lot of the equipment they need for special issues, special events, and that type of thing when they have an investigation that goes on. Just to satisfy that, we put together a request for quote, sent it to the dealerships locally that handle police vehicles. White came in with a Dodge Charger, which is a current fleet pretty much all, I think it is all a Dodge Charger, and with an option to look at a Ford Explorer utility, like similar to like the fire chief had. Obviously, the utility vehicle came in a little bit over where we felt we could be this year, so everyone's agreed. We just moved forward with the Charger, and the item, the unit number 36 will be taken out of the normal fleet. Then we'll have to figure out, we're just looking at different options. If anybody, any other division can use it, or we put it in gov deals, or we put it in the July 4th option. We just haven't determined where we want to take that yet, until we get the other one in and kind of get a chance to look it over real well. That's where we're at.
Mr. Scott, questions?
None, thank you.
Mr. Thackeray?
This will be a police cruiser?
I'm sorry?
It will be a cruiser?
Yeah.
Okay. And we've got additional expenses in creating a cruiser out of the Charger? Or is this everything included in it?
This is everything included, all the equipment. There may be some incidental when we have to do some, like radio changeovers and that type of thing.
Okay,
This has all the equipment included.
great, thank you.
Mr. Pena?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory. Thanks, Gary.
Mr. Piper?
Oh, what's the reason for getting rid of the 2014 that we got? Oh, do they have a problem with it, or
No, it's the 2012 they're getting rid of.
2012?
It's just starting to get miles and age on it with the using it day in, day out. It really wears on the
Yeah.
engines and the brakes. And
I think
transmission.
what I read in here, something like 90,000 miles on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
just over almost 91,000 miles on that cruiser.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Fields?
I have nothing.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yeah, 90,000 miles, these aren't driven down the highway, this is start
No,
and
these
stop
are
all day
A
long.
lot of stop and go,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hard mile.
I don't know how many people would want to buy a beat-up used police car, I mean, they get worked,
Right.
so. Was this one new in 2012? I don't remember. Is this
I
a
believe it
4-year-old
was,
car?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was new in 12.
Okay. So 4 years, so the up fee was almost 8 or 9 grand for the SUV, which is, you're talking a couple thousand a year just for that option.
Right.
So I don't know what all they would use it for, but.
Yeah, next year there's money budgeted for a larger, we just thought if we could work it in this year, we'd go ahead and try it, but
Right,
it didn't fit, so we just weren't going to pursue it.
okay. Good deal, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, council? If not, all those in favor of accepting the board control's recommendation to authorize a purchase order to White Service Center in the amount of $30,179 for a 2016 Dodge Charger, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, thank you. And number 3,
The Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to Public Entities Pool in the amount of $147,580 for 1 year to cover the cost of property and casualty insurance. This is a 9% increase over the 2015 premium. See attached comparison. This expense will be charged to departmental insurance accounts and is in the 2016 budget. Vote 3-0.
okay, council, to speak to this, we need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have the insert I have in the packet comparing the 2015 insured values with the 2016 insured values. Basically, what's come on are the improvements at the wastewater treatment plant. So that additional $9 million that they have allotted is basically from the wastewater treatment plant. So that ups our building value to over $57 million citywide. Personal property held consistent with 2015. Another increase you'll see is the miscellaneous property schedule. Obviously, with newer equipment, the price for replacement value has gone up. So we did have about $100,000, almost $200,000 increase there for scheduled property. All in all, we had about a 17% increase in value, insured value, which resulted in a 9% increase over last year in our premium. So that's better than an 18% increase. So I think we fared pretty well in our renewal this year. If anybody has any questions, I'm trying to answer them.
Mr. Thackeray?
It looks good to me. I think that's pretty reasonable for the increase in value, so, thank you.
No questions.
No questions.
Mr. Fields?
Nothing.
Mr. Hoffman?
How often do we file claims? Are we considered a responsible client? I mean, do we file more or less claims than average? Do you know? I mean, it's kind of a random question. I'm just curious. kind of what our rating is. I know as a homeowner, you know, if you file more claims, your rates go up and everything else.
The public entities pool consists of 450 public entities in the state of Ohio. So all of our insurance claims are consistent with other area municipalities, counties, that sort of thing. I've never heard that we are a heavy user on that end.
We get things occasionally, I know in council will approve money for you guys to fix something and get reimbursed. And
A lot of our claims are for hit light posts downtown where we'll pay the deductible and then they pick up the difference. Like I said, I haven't heard negative feedback from our insurance provider on these.
so our rate's more based on the group we're in and less based on how much we use it.
Yeah, Doug, it's a pool of all the villages and municipalities that are in the pool, and they spread the risk. This pool's been really good to us. Back 7 years ago, they paid a claim that probably should never have been paid when we had the flood here, and that was an $80,000 claim. And but they've been real good. But as far as I don't think we have that many claims. If it is, it's being reimbursed possibly from another insurance carrier, like a truck hits a hole in the square. All in all, I think our claims experience is really good.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Scott?
No questions, thanks.
Mr. Hess, if I might just add a little tidbit of information. This is another experience too that in the last, I think it was in the end of January, we had our risk assessment specialist for the PEP scheduled an appointment to come in and meet with us. So they met with me and all the division heads. For one afternoon, we met for an hour or two and talked about, he wants to go around and he visits all the divisions, wants to look at certain areas and all the different departments, fire department, police department, you name it. Then he spends time over the next 2 or 3 days with each division head for a couple hours and just walks through all the facilities, understands the processes, and looks for opportunities that may, in his mind, put us at risk or potential. And he'll come back with a report and explain, these are some things we talked about, and I think we had 3 or 4 things that we had to respond to. He was fine, he understood where we were coming from, and so he's going to plan on coming back this summer. He likes to come in 2 or 3 times a year, just spot check. So we do have a real good relationship, and they're very, very honest and open when they come in, and very welcoming in terms of understanding the operations and getting to understand the people and what we're dealing with. So they do have a good experience in the state, and we've been very fortunate with them so far. So just a little feedback.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? How many cities are in this pool again?
About 450.
Okay. No further questions. All those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation to authorize a purchase order to public entities pool in the amount of $147,580 for property and casualty insurance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, thank you. And that was our last request for money. You see the footnote that the February, March purchase order lists are attached. If you have any questions on those, we'll move right along to citizens' comments. Any citizen have anything you'd like to say to the city council or its administration? Now be the time. Camera crews included. Your citizens of Urbana. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move into ordinances and resolutions for a third reading, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 4452-16, an ordinance to amend Chapter 963 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Urbana, Ohio, to establish a board to oversee operations of Oakdale Cemetery.
Okay, council, this is a third reading, and we need a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, I'm trying not to go into the whole spiel again, but I think we've talked about this often enough. The gist of it is clear and understandable. Again, our plan is to put together a cemetery board for Oakdale Cemetery. to help us in the short and long-term planning strategy for operation and development of the cemetery. Cemetery, as you well know, is a very important piece of our community, very vital to our heritage, and it is something that we'd really like to spend the right amount of time and energy to promote and develop to make it one of the nicer cemeteries in the area, to honor the residents and families of those who lived before us. So with your approval tonight, we'll start the process of going through the names that have submitted and made themselves known that they'd like to serve on the board. And I think after we got the 30-day wait period will take effect. But our plan would be, basically towards the end of May, we would have the board in place and start having a regular meetings where they can establish the bylaws and start working on their plan to get through 2016 and start preparing for 2017. Again, this is going to be a board that we're not anticipating somebody to sit on the board and take attendance and say they went to a meeting. We'd like to have people that are engaged, like to have people that are passionate about building and making Oakdale Cemetery a cemetery that is well established and reverent and honors the memories of those that, again, the community has behind us. So again, I think you've spent a lot of time putting together the background, if you will. Again, we're not looking for passive membership. We're looking for people who are really interested in understanding, being engaged in different aspects of the cemetery. Again, going back to the public entities pool, that was one of the areas when the site assessor came in. He did comment that we need to spend some time, work on the cemetery, the office and the records and the security and things like that of some of our facilities out there. So that's just one of the aspects that is going to be important for us to focus on. And we just really think this is a good way to go. And years ago, it's been claimed that we had a cemetery board. So far, nobody's been able to put any meat behind that claim. So there may have been an advisory committee at some point, but we can't find any activity or records of a cemetery board. So this is going to be a new venture for us, but I think with the right group and the right bylaws and the right mix of things, we can keep things rolling and get things moving, and we anticipate that having those minutes of those meetings reported back to council so you have an idea of what's going on. And I would encourage anyone on council, we'd like to have a council member available to sit on the board, not necessarily the voting member maybe, but at least be involved in understanding on a routine level what the activities are going on, rather than just waiting to hear a report back every month or two. So with that, I just, again, encourage your support and ask for your approval for the third reading.
Mr. Pena, questions?
No, I mean, it's a great thing to get started, and hopefully, like you said, get some people in there. It's not going to be passive, but passionate about it, so I think it's a good move.
Mr. Piper?
Have you got any people that's asked to be on this board yet?
Bill has a collection of names. I haven't seen the list. He's keeping it. I think he's got a separate accounting firm that's got sealed envelope. No, he's collecting the names. We haven't had any discussion on it until we get through the third reading and let it have the 30-day waiting period.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fields?
Nothing.
Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you for your work on this. It's long overdue. I think it's the only financially feasible way to kick this thing off. And I think long-term it's going to yield pretty good results. I believe you guys will make this thing work, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Scott?
Sounds good, Kerry. Let's move forward.
Mr. Thacker?
Any idea when your first meeting would be?
I would imagine first meeting would be, the earliest would be the end of May, probably be early June, be the first time we get together.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know, and I'd like to probably attend that.
Yeah.
So,
Any further questions, council? Okay, History 101. There was talk about a cemetery advisory committee probably 25 years ago, and Earl Evans was the only person volunteered for it, and I think it kind of never happened. But there was talk about it. Just, it seems like it it's an area of the city that nobody wanted to touch, but everybody wanted to keep it nice, and Memorial Day, they all go out there, and then that's the last time they ever see it. And then whoever took care of it made sure it was looked nice then, and they always do. So anyway, that's the past Cemetery Advisory Board. I don't know, I know the townships are required by the state to maintain the cemeteries. Every township has to have a cemetery and maintain it, correct?
No. Every township is responsible for maintaining cemeteries that are in the township, but if the township is lucky enough to not have any cemeteries,
Right.
then they don't have to start one.
Right. Is there any requirement for the cities, or do we kind of not have to do that because we're the city?
If we have one, we have to maintain it.
State mandated? Okay. That's all, I just wanted to check that. Okay, this is a third reading. Madam Clerk, roll call on a passage of 4452-16, please.
Mr. Pena.
Yes.
Mr. Thackeray.
Yes.
Mr. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Fields.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 4452-16 passes unanimously. See you in the morning and sign that, Mayor. Next one, please.
Ordinance number 4453-16, an ordinance to provide a statement of services in the territory to be annexed, approve an annexation agreement with Urbana Township, and authorize the Director of Administration to sign the agreement on behalf of the City of Urbana.
Council, this is the third reading. We need a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
And
At this
Walter.
point, it was conveyed to me shortly before the meeting that the township and the property owner's attorney have a question about the annexation agreement. So tonight, we'd be asking council to table this until the next meeting. If we bring it back in its current form, it would still be then a third reading. If there are any changes to the attachment, which is the agreement itself, it could also still be a third reading. But if there are any changes to the ordinance itself, it would revert back to the first reading. But there's some language that has to get ironed out with the trustees, and Mr. Crable can elaborate more on that if he's at the school board meeting tonight.
Okay, council.
I would make a motion to table.
Second.
And any discussion needed on that? We're just going to table it. All those in favor of tabling ordinance 4453-16 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll see that one next meeting. Next one, please.
Ordinance number 4454-16, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into an agreement for electric generation supply with a competitive retail electric service provider for use on public property and streets in the City of Urbana, Champaign County, State of Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, this is the third reading. We need a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
Just an update on this. This is our current electrical generation agreement expires at the end of the year. Again, as part of our membership to the Miami Valley Communications Council, we're a member of the 26 different communities that are going to pool the resources and negotiate a group rate for electrical generation supply. So again, we have to have the approval back to the Miami Valley Communications Council by the end of the month, and that's the reason why we were able to get this in the third reading. Originally, they were looking for it 1st of April. Nobody could do that, so we did get the three readings. With your approval tonight, I'll get the notification to the council, and they will start lining everybody up 1st of May, start negotiations for the electrical supply. Try to get into agreement here before the end of the year.
Okay, questions, Mr. Piper?
No, I have no questions.
Mr. Fields?
Nothing.
Mr. Hoffman?
No, sir.
Mr. Scott?
None, thank you.
Mr. Thackeray?
No.
Mr. Pena?
No, sir.
Okay. Hearing none, roll call on the passage of 4454-16, please.
Mr. Thackeray?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Okay. 4454-16 passes unanimously. And the next one, please.
Resolution number 2427-16, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of Urbana to submit an application to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources under the Round 23 Nature Works program for park improvements and declaring an emergency.
Council, third reading, we need a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
Chris?
Just a reminder, this is the grant we applied for the city park. We're hoping to obtain funding for a new membrane liner for the main pool at City Park. Earlier, probably a month and a half ago, we installed the membrane liner at the baby pool. I was reminded this morning that they're prepping for the pool season, and they cleaned out the pool, and they're getting ready to paint, and it would be real nice if we can get this grant awarded and install the membrane pool for next season. So we're hoping to apply for anywhere from $24,000 to $25,000 in funding. The membrane pool was quoted at $50,000, so the city would be on the hook for the difference.
Mr. Fields, questions?
I just think it's good money to spend because that pool's really turned around. A lot of people are utilizing it.
Mr. Hall?
No questions.
Mr. Scott?
No questions.
Mr. Thacker?
No questions.
Mr. Pena?
No, thank you.
Mr. Piper?
What's our profit margin out there, any?
I'm sorry?
Profit margin?
Profit margin at the pool?
Yeah, the pool.
If we break even, I'm throwing a party. So,
Okay.
and I haven't had a party in the last couple of years, so it's getting closer. It's a nice benefit for the community.
All right, thank you.
It's like salt in the streets.
Yeah.
Plowing
really.
snow, picking up leaves, service we provide. Okay, no further questions. Roll call on passage of 2427-16, please.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Thackeray?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Resolution 2427-16 passes unanimously, and we'll send it in tomorrow. Don't forget to sign all these, Mayor.
Don't worry. Hope you're there.
Have a race. That was our last third reading and no second readings tonight.